There you go. I think, yes, we are on live. We'll
All
give a
right.
couple minutes for folks to join and then get started.
Can we start now?
Yes, let's get started. Shantanu, you wanna get it going?
Yes, let me kick this off. Really exciting episode today. So, welcome everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're joining in from to this podcast series. As I said, really glad to welcome you all to this 25th episode of our podcast series on the strategy meets execution. It's already silver jubilee. We have been doing this for 25 weeks now. Doesn't feel like it because every topic, every aspect is so new and so exciting. It always feels like it's the first podcast we are doing. But here we are on podcast number 25. And podcast number 25 has been made especially special because of the guest that we have today. So, really very fortunate to welcome Vineet Patwardhan to our podcast episode today. We'll be talking about automation, innovation, and a lot of things in between. Vineet has a vast amount of experience in this field, and we would be picking his brains, we'd be picking on his ideas about what automation means, what innovation means for Indian small and medium businesses. So,
Yep.
without further ado, we can start off. Let me introduce our guest for today, Vineet Patwardhan. As I said, uh, I have known Vineet for almost 10 years now. And when I look at, I know him outside business. I know him in a different way. We play badminton together. But looking at his business profile, looking at his career profile is equally exciting as much as RS smashes in badminton. Uh, Vineet has 25 plus years of experience in the automation sector. He has a B mechanical engineering from VGTI Mumbai, one of the premier institutes in India. He also has an MTech from VRC. And since then, he has been in the industry, I think, for the last 26 plus years, almost 30 years, close to that.
Very
And
good.
he has worked in companies as diverse as Thermax, Infosys, Wipro, has stayed and worked in multiple countries. And for the past 14 years, he has been running his own companies in the automation and special purpose machine design and manufacturing space. So, Vineet, we couldn't have asked for a better guest today to talk about
Yep.
automation and innovation challenges that small and medium businesses face. All through our podcast series, we have been taking up issues and topics that are very relevant for small and medium businesses. And this is especially important for manufacturing SMEs, MSMEs. We see a big gap in what is the potential for these MSMEs in India to, in terms of productivity and output that they can achieve, also in terms of the automation that they can implement. There's a
Mhm.
big gap in what is possible and what is actually the case in reality today. So we'll delve upon this topic, particularly on what are the challenges facing Indian MSMEs in terms of automation adoption. And as I said, Vinith is the perfect person to talk about it. Really glad, Vinith, to have you here. Uh, if you would like to add anything to our listeners upfront, and then we can proceed from there.
Thanks, Shantanu, and thanks, Aniket. It's my honor to be present and share this interesting podcast with you and be a part of your Silver Jubilee podcast. So
Yeah.
I also follow up all your podcast, and every podcast comes with very great kind of information. Some it gives some thoughts to provokes to think about few things, and that really is interesting and really it's my honor. And to start with, actually, yes, actually moving from manufacturing and IT field, I started my own company into automation. Main reason is it's a very challenging field. Every day creates a new challenge. Others, there is something for your mind to work on, and when your automation project works or your special purpose machine works and client is
Yep.
using it, the satisfaction what you get, that is the main motivation to run behind all these projects and with extra effort and make all the projects successful. So that means, and just the major development right now is last 1.5 years ago, I joined my friend. Is
Mm.
into manufacturing of springs. The company name is Swan Techniques Private Limited. So he's into
Okay.
manufacturing of springs and plastic molded components.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
it's a single source supply to Maruti and Bosch for very critical springs. So it's a set process, and he's getting one additional business line as I'm getting another hand, another
Mm.
person, like-minded person who we can interact and grow our business. So that thing is kind of goes on, and it's
Yeah.
the joint collaboration with Swan. So we are proceeding
Yeah, I
further.
think that's an important point you mentioned, and I know we are going to touch upon that in detail as we discuss going further. But before we do that, maybe we quickly introduce ourselves, Aniket, as
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead, Shantanu. You're first.
yes. So, yeah. So my name is Shantanu Kelkar, and I'm a founder and principal consultant at 1.618 Business Consulting. I have about 20 plus years of experience, again working with automation and process control MNCs. And in that field, apart from working on the engineering side, on field side, I have also spent 15 plus years working on the strategy and marketing side of the things. And for the past 1.5 years, through 1.618 Business Consulting, I have been working with small and medium businesses again to develop, deploy, and execute their growth strategies to really look at what are the opportunities that lie ahead of them, what challenges that they potentially can face, and then work out a plan to overcome that, and not just stop at it, but also help them execute the plan to the outcome. So that is, in a nutshell, what I'm doing these days with working with closely with Indian MSMEs. Aniket,
Yeah,
over to you. I think.
absolutely. Welcome, everyone. I'm Aniket Vaksare. I have 15 plus years of experience in different fields. I came to United States in 2008 to pursue my master's. After that, started my career with Cummins Automotive Manufacturer, headquartered here in Columbus, Indiana. And then I grew up. I spent like 12 years there. I was a technical operation leader before I left. But throughout this year, I managed a multi-million dollar project also there, from start to execution, basically improving their efficiencies. Was able to save around $4 million while my tenure during my tenure in Cummins, by optimizing the processes as well as reducing the warranty expenses. And then I moved on to Amazon, because I got my MBA in supply chain, so wanted to push my boundaries. I did actually help them launch some warehouses, distribution centers all across North America, specifically in California and Texas and North Carolina. More on the warehouse automation side. That was almost 2.5, 3 years before I joined to the other company, consultancy company, basically providing my consultancy services to other manufacturers here in Indiana State. So I'm actually currently supporting automation to help Eli Lilly. It's the biggest pharmaceutical manufacturer in US, basically automating their processes. So here also made some impact in saving millions, around $2.5 million in saving. Obviously by reducing their warranty expenses as well as optimizing their processes. So I'm passionate about solving problems and giving solutions to the SMBs. And today I'm excited more about welcoming Vineet Patwardhan. He has a vast experience in automation and would like to pick his brain on certain things. This is obviously, I mean, if you are a continuous listener of our podcast, you've seen we primarily focus on SMBs and MSMEs throughout the world. What are the specific challenges they are facing and how we can actually help them with our diverse experience to help them solve problems with time with more without spending more time on this. I would like to get dive into the topic. How about Shantanu?
Yeah.
We're gonna get started on this.
Yeah. So, if you have listened through our introductions, you know that we all come from an automation background, either as part of our training or as part of our actual work. So, it's usually the case that we hear it a lot from companies that what we learn in our engineering courses is usually different from what is actually there in the field. The practical examples are different from what is being taught in our engineering colleges. It's the same, I believe, for automation, and that's where Vineet, I would like to begin by asking you what how do you see machine automation today as it is being applied or as it is being implemented in the Indian manufacturing sector?
Mm,
uh, you know what how is it different, is it the same? How can we simply put it in a structure or in order for the MSMEs or the companies to understand where they fit in the whole value chain of automation?
Uh, just to answer your question, actually, each company or each business, they have mastering their processes. That means whatever product they have
Mm,
mastering their processes. They know how to manufacture that product using correct process. But how that
mm,
process is implemented, whether it's a manual, automated, semi-automated. So that's where actually when we are working on projects, this is what the kind of levels we try to define.
mhm,
These are not
mm,
the textbook definition, or this is not maybe vastly used, but generally when we are conceptualizing our idea or when we are discussing with clients
mm,
or customers, that means how we want to proceed, what kind of automation they need, how much is the budget, how we can fit their key pain point or their requirement into the required perspective. So that's where
mm,
I have classified these levels of automation as three levels. That means semi-automated, automated, and fully automated process.
mhm,
So first is whatever generally is happening is the manual process where everything is manual or maybe some hand presses are being used or some hammering activities there or to some extent some machines are used but everything setting, loading, unloading, everything is manual required for that
mm,
usage. So when we move to next level, semi-automated. So here I can say loading unloading is manual. Maybe slightly aligning of components for particular process that can be a manual. But there will be some implemented kits which will ensure that output is always consistent and proper. There will be some sensors or some fixtures which will ensure the orientation is there, the process parameters are followed. There will be some measurement of load or uh, some values we are measuring. So that I will call it as a semi-automated process. Automated process is like, okay, loading, unloading will be manual, but rest everything will be automated process. You just load the
mm,
parent and child components. You push the start button and the system or machine will take care of everything. Once that cycle is over, you have that completed process. And then fully automated is either you have a dedicated pick and place mechanism, there are conveyors joining multiple stations, and robo
mm,
is taking care of picking the component, placing it onto the system. Rejected components are placed into rejection bin or separate
mm,
conveyors. So that I will categorize as fully automated system. Just to give example here, one of my client who is into filter manufacturing. So our car AC filter.
Mm-hmm.
So generally there is a feedback on the sides there are edge bands. So once that edge band are applied, earlier process was they used to put it in the fixture, take a manually cut the extra edge band, and so that was that complete manual process. So there was the heavy sharp blade, so there was a safety concern also, and cycle time also was very, again the cutting efficiency, operator skill, everything was coming into picture. So we just developed a simple machine where the filter is placed. There are four cutters. Just to press the start button, four cutters will place the four extra ends of it. So that's where that semi-automated process. Then we
Mm.
automated it where only which filter loading is manual, but edge binding, cutting, and then their uh, label printing, the QR code printing, etc. That will happen completely on only one system. And so where in 5 seconds one filter can come out. So that was, I will say,
Mm.
automated process. So when we will go into the next step, that means whatever operator is loading that filter onto a fixture and sending that fixture into the line, when that
Mm.
process will get implemented, that will be the full automation. So maybe for
Okay.
MSMEs also, they can start with a manual process. So they can first try to implement semi-automation process, which can be a proof of concept,
Mm.
and then once
Right.
again, we can go further.
Okay. So I just thought of that's a great way to put it, really, because it's more simple and easy to understand on what those levels of automation are really when it comes to actual implementation, compared to, as you said, the textbook definitions of it. So but that sort of, I had two questions, sub questions related to that.
Yeah.
First one is, in general, uh, where do you see most of the companies are situated today in the Indian manufacturing sector? You could take your own customer base as a sample size, maybe, and are they more into semi-automated state today, moving towards automated, or are they in stage three, moving towards fully auto? Where would you put most of your customers today?
Uh, that is, if you are talking about MSME, if we talk about only
Hmm.
micro businesses, that is all small micro scale industries, which we generally found in MIDC or small shops.
Hmm.
So generally everywhere I have seen it's a manual process or to some extent semi-automated process. When it
Okay.
comes
Okay. So,
to tier 2 or tier 3 suppliers of big automobile giants, so there we
hmm.
see semi-automated or automated process. Fully automated
Okay.
process is at some bits and pieces it's implemented. That means still a
Hmm.
complete factory is fully automated. That I haven't seen,
Hmm.
at least in Indian scenario or maybe the major
Hmm.
auto giants that are in Pune. Many part
Right.
of processes are fully automated, but
Mm-hmm.
not the 100% complete automation I have found.
Okay. And
That's where
the
the
second,
opportunity lies. Sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just, as I said, the second sub question then is that we have heard all these large automation companies talk about fully autonomous operations. They
Mm-hmm.
typically talk about use of AI and advanced process control and so on and so forth to really automate the entire process. And not only that, not just automation, but also decision making is autonomous in terms of picking parameters for operations and then uh, changing them depending on the output, so on and so forth. So, uh, do you see how much time do you give Indian companies to reach that stage? 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Hmm.
Definitely, AI is picking up. That means the rate at which it's getting implemented or it's getting
Mm.
popularity, it's amazing. That means maybe in last 4 5 months or 6 months or so, we can see there is a rebound increase in the way AI is being used. But
Mm.
only thing here, that means the context in which I am talking about is more from a mechanical industry. That means what my experience is or the field in which I am is
Uh,
into mechanical processes automation. So
mm,
typically AI and all other things get implemented when those are service driven or software driven processes. So
okay.
their AI implementation is much faster. But to give
Mm,
you some example of how AI is implemented in our cases, I will give example of vision systems, which generally
mm,
we use for identifying defects in your final uh, inspection or at
okay.
intermediate stages. So there now we are implementing AI-based cameras. So depending upon the field which it is receiving, or maybe
Mm,
the way we are teaching it, it uh, itself implements its own intelligence, and based on that, it can
mm,
accept or reject component. That means
mm. I
it
think so. It
can
has started
make
from.
product inspection more stringent depending upon the uh, acceptance rate or the way it's identifying defects. So that's one area where we can implement AI.
Got
It's
it.
Okay.
actively being implemented.
Okay.
Understood.
Good to know that.
All right. Shall we move on to the next slide?
Yes. So yeah, go
Talk
ahead.
about automation as a competitive lever. Yeah. Go ahead, Vinith. You'd like to expand on this, like briefly?
Actually, these are the things. I think in all your 25 episodes, I think these parts are covered. But just that means why automation, or why there is a desperate need for automation right now is that's what I will try to explain based on my experience. First and foremost thing is the higher capacity.
Yep.
That means even if we take a simple machine, that means you have a VMC or CNC, one operator is loading the part, unloading the part, machine is taking care of complete processing. But just if
Mm,
operator goes for a personal break, or he is busy with his phone, even if he delays loading unloading of the component just by 15-20 seconds, in a day, how many such delays are there? Those many less pieces or less production that companies get. So to have that consistency, we can implement some pick and place system or robot. So which will ensure that okay, we have 480 minutes per shift, we are getting that defined output in it, and we want to have a higher production that suddenly schedule changes. You have a higher production requirement per day. Generally,
mm,
people then struggle to get the find the operator for the night shift or second shift, third shift. But in automated process, that is the basic thing which is taken care of. Machines are running continuously. Just you need one supervisor or one person who is feeding the raw material. So increasing capacity is achieved. Labor efficiency also, that means as machine is taking care of most of the thing. Labor can be used effectively for more value-added activities or more creative activities where their intervention is most critical. And
mm,
again, this is again the same debate which was happening when software and PCs were introduced to general thing. There was a lot
Mm,
of debate going on. Now it will create unemployment, but actually now IT industry is a major industry who are employing people. So same will be the case with this. You will need more intellectual capability or more people
mm,
to develop the system, manage the system, maintain the system, design the systems, or the way you are implementing it. So that's one. And third point, which is very obvious, no need to talk about this, is the consistent quality. You set the
mm,
parameters and you get the consistent quality, and that's what is the automobile industry, or I will say each and every industry. That's what the basic demand is. When you define quality, it has to match, and everyone is doing 100% zero defect production.
mm,
So that's what we can achieve with this. Then wastage reduction, because you take a manual process somewhere in maybe take a simple example of bearing pressing. So when you are pressing the bearing, if you are hammering it by stick, you hammer it very hard or hammer it at one point only, it can damage the bearing, damage the component. If you do it with a press or some semi-automated thing, the pressing will be proper. Then if you implement load cell and displacement sensor to it, you can have your parameters set that okay, what are the tolerances in the where the bearing is fitted. So the running of that component will it be smooth. So that is the predictable way you can do it. So once those parameters and things are accepted and those are set, the product what you will get is good, definitely is going to meet your quality
Mm-hmm.
specifications. So your rejections are reduced or you are saving the cost. And those are all complementary things. That is, when you are consistent in quality, obviously it reduces the waste. Then maybe once you implemented one process, now you want to expand your capacity. You can just develop the similar machines or similar concept and create a second line. So that is the faster way of implementation you can do rather than finding resources, finding that skill set, excuse me, training the resources. That means all that part will be automatically taken care once you will just duplicate that assembly process or assembly line. And once you have implemented all these things, your ROIs are met. Definitely, you have the cost competitiveness and feasibility to uh, compete with your competitors. That is, you will have more positive state. And when the customer is looking at you and when he sees your process are automated, definitely his first impression or the confidence that client will get is definitely is going to matter a lot in the competitive market.
100%.
Right.
100%.
So I
And
think this tells me is, if you really break it down, at the beginning, it might look very overwhelming. If you were to say that I'm currently operating my manufacturing in a manual or a semi-automated way, and I want to move towards more automation, it might sound overwhelming, but the way you have broken it down into these 4 5 important pieces, you can then focus on each of these and go about that uh, process of implementation, adoption of that automation processes, and that I think becomes easy for an MSME to digest. That yes, it is possible for me to find places where I can improve efficiency. I can find places today where I'm wasting probably more resources than what is actually needed for the process, and I can look to automate that particular process to reduce my waste. So I think it's a very good way to put, bracket those problems and solve them one by one with that. And that needs bit of, I would say, it's an art as well as much as it is a science of
it is.
automation and innovation, to find these areas where they can work and gain those benefits. So from your perspective, where what are some real life examples from where this automation innovation emanates? I think it need not be some big bang product innovation that needs to happen, but it's in these small pieces, it's in these small corners of the process where you can really innovate and get massive benefits out of that. Can you quote a few examples where you have seen that happen?
Right, there are many examples. That is where that is first thing I would like to differentiate is that is these are not inventions, these are all innovations. So
Hmm.
just the way the available techniques, how effectively you use, and
Hmm.
what is currently being followed, and the transition to some new process or new techniques or new automation system, the way you are implementing. For that, the way you need to think, the way you need to understand the problem or understand the main crust of client requirement. That's where all that creativity and innovation and application of all your engineering knowledge comes into picture.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give some few examples, very simple, straightforward examples. One of the giant two-wheeler manufacturing, they were facing problem. of
Mhm.
many customer complaints of their fuel level indicator is not working properly.
Mhm.
So
Mm,
typically on the assembly line, there is a fuel level sensor which is then attached to the tank, and then that tank is attached to the motorcycle body. So in that process, there was no way to check how that is fuel sensor that was checked independently by the supplier who is giving that. But
mm,
while assembling it into the tank, if it got damaged or if it got stuck or it is not behaving the way it was expected. So the
mm,
client came to me with a single line statement that once we install the fuel sensor, we want to check whether it's working properly or not. So
mm,
first thinking is that okay, fill the tank with different fuel level, check whether sensor is working or not, and empty the tank. The this solution looks simple, but this you can't implement because filling the tank and again emptying the tank is going to be a very time consuming. Again, if you observe the sensor has slightly delaying the response once that level settles. And again,
mm,
you can't add or use water or different solution because the same bike then will be then what will be provided to customer where petrol will be created. If you use petrol, then there are safety hazard at the shop floor. If there is any leakage of petrol while testing, if there are fumes of petrol generated there, so all that area needs to be cordoned off and separate things are required. So that was not the way we had to think of. So the simple solution was when we fill the petrol or we fill the fuel in the tank, the way sensor is that sensor gets lifted to the angle. So how we
mm,
can reach to that position of sensor? Just the tilt the tank at the axis where that sensor is mounted. Just that simple solution we implemented. We have implemented one servo motor driven application where
mm,
at 3 4 stages it will stop so that it will check 25%, 50%, 75% level, and accordingly it will just check. That means all the things were taken care of in just 10 seconds, 15 seconds at a time, and we are checking the resistance of that.
mm.
So
So,
this is one of
what do you think is? Yeah, sorry, you had another example.
no, no, just go ahead.
Yeah, no. So, you mentioned these examples. What it really again tells me is that uh, it need not be again coming from a team which is sitting down and thinking that now then now let's innovate, now let's look at this problem, sit down and use some big templates and tools and techniques to innovate and find solutions out of that. I think it comes from uh, it can actually come from anywhere. It can come from a brainwave that hits someone. And they could be at any level in the hierarchy, anywhere in the on the shop floor or in the executive cabins as well. So it can come from anywhere. But in general, what environment you think is needed for such innovation and such ideas to prosper and actually get implemented on the shop floor or in those processes?
Actually,
How can we build that
here
innovation? Yeah.
here actually the process starts from client side. That is how clear he is in giving his problem statement or giving his
Mm.
Mm,
requirements with all the constraints, with all the inputs. So once we are aware of all their requirements and their problem statement, why they want it, what exactly are the constraints. So it gives us some direction in which we need to think on that problem or on that requirement. So
mm,
that itself gives us some direction, and again, that is in few cases there are some eureka moments that is okay. Some idea gets clicked. It might be maybe just from the engineer, maybe just it evolves during our uh, ideation discussions, or maybe some vague YouTube video somewhere someone has said that idea
mm.
can be implemented here also. That means that's where all that now information technology and abundant information source what we have. comes to our use. So that's how
Like a
it works.
WhatsApp doctor these days. Huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a
And
different university.
yeah, and just to follow up on this, I mean, I can definitely relate what you said. Sometimes people try to solve the problem on their own. I mean, there are AI tools, lot of, but then they don't know what the context is, and then just randomly on, they search something and they think believe it is true. They are not aware of AI hallucinations and all that, and so as we say here in also USA, it's let experts handle their job, right? Because
Mm.
Right.
I mean, even if we approach, right? I mean, customer approach to us with a problem, we have to make sure, as you said, Vineet, that let's lock down the problem statement, right? Do we have enough
Right.
information about the problem? Do we know what it is true, and what are the assumptions? It is called first principle thinking, right? And I think often we lack that we fail to question our clients also enough to make sure the problem statement is solid.
Mm.
So 50% problem is solved there itself once you define the problem. Sometimes, oh, it is not working, but what have you done? What are changes that you made? Give me the perfect, all the information about it, and then I can deep dive and give you the answer. But just in the superficial manner, if you give me um, just the problem statement, then we sometimes, as a consultant, we need to uh, guide our customers to the right direction to get the answer that we want, right?
Right. Very
So
well said.
yeah, in your experience, Vinith, have you had similar instances where, the problem statements or sometimes the customer requirements are not clear and they've
It
asked for,
happens.
yeah, how
It
have
happens
you
many
been
times.
able
Actually, sometimes, many times it happens. That means maybe the person who is giving you the requirement is, that means either he's lack of time, or from his customer also he is not sure what exactly are the requirements. And
to?
generally, you have one requirement received from
Mm-hmm.
their customer. They
Mm-hmm.
are not, that product is under development, so they are also not sure what exactly that product is going to be. That means he
Yes,
hasn't seen that product. Based on that, he needs to develop a production line. So he's also not very sure about the process or about the properties of that product and the way it needs to be implemented. So many times they come with their bad experience, that is okay, in similar product we have implemented this, so let's plan it in this way. And there we apply our logic, our experience, the way we think it is going to be more efficient or will be more easy for implementation. So many times it's a joint activity because we are automation expert. We are not the process expert. Sometimes these client
absolutely.
side processes are important because those are their uh, proprietary processes, or that's why they are getting those requirements or those products to manufacture. So we think from the way how their current process can be automated, or we can ensure that it's repetitive than
Mm.
current trend of uh, data capturing and
Mm.
logging of each thing, traceability, what we say. So those things that we will need to implement, that's where we majorly come to picture. And where in their existing process, because of quality problem, because of some other problems, because of the client side rejections, if they are facing any problem, then it's a open challenge for us. That means how good we can come up with the solution and how we can implement it.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Uh, Similar, that means one more example I would like to quote in the filter industry only. So they have one
Mm.
wire mesh, and inside that wire mesh they have the pleated filter component which they have to insert, and from the both side they need to apply caps and seal those filters. So their major problem was that outside mesh it is a wire mesh, so it has sharp edges. So when they are inserting the filter, it gets cut,
mm,
and then that filter efficiency goes down. Then again inserting, it was harmful for the, that means it was not a safe practice because those sharp edges can hurt the operator. If he wears thick gloves, then he is not able to insert or guide it properly. So in its operation, then you face the problem. So
mm,
to find a solution, we struggled a lot in this thing. One
Yeah,
fortunate thing was client also was supportive. He was ready to go into the iterative mode. But there we develop few simple systems where the mesh will be guided, inside filter will be guided, there will be one inside thin layer of packing which then can be removed after insertion. So we developed and then there is one expandable collet which will first get lifted and then will expand and then it will guide. That means that complex linkage mechanism arrangement which we develop. So that was the uh, concept got implemented on their all filter manufacturing lines, and the similar concept is also, I think, is implemented in Germany also. That is what concept
mm.
we have developed here.
You
right.
know, Vineet, as we were talking, I was just reminded of this advertisement that used to run on the television a few years back. It was for I think a two-wheeler company, and it started by talking about all the different features that the I think it was a four-wheeler. I'm sorry, but that the car has and all. And then finally the customer asks, "वो सब तो ठीक है, लेकिन देती कितना है? How
कितना
much
देती
mileage does it give?"
very
All
well
the
said.
features are fine, but what is the mileage that it gives? So I think we have been talking about the benefits of automation, innovation, and a lot of things related to SMBs. But at the end of the day, one key question that they always have is, all this is fine, but I have this money problem, or I have this particular problem. How does it solve for me? So what are the things, top things you think, yeah, as the slide says here, those risks or points of resistance, I would say, entry blockades that one needs to, as an MSME, needs to overcome, and really get on to the next step. You-
That means typically that means whenever if you speak with any business person and he needs to do investment, his first question is ROI. कितने में मैं
Mm,
मेरा पैसा वसूल करूंगा? That's the simple first question that person will ask, or he wants answer for that. So
right.
sometimes if the ROI gets longer, so then there
Mm,
is a resistance to implement that thing. And he thinks was then what's harm in going with the current process? Using it for so
mm,
many years, why not I can just continue on that? Why I should invest money on that? So
mm,
many times from their client side also they are not sure about how much volume they will get, or will that additional investment will get compensated in the cost, or will client support will provide some capital for this investment which that person is doing. So these are the main reasons which I have seen there is a resistance for automation. And then
okay.
next few things that typically if I say, that is again typical shop floor mentality, that means fear and confidence on the existing process that ये काम नहीं करेगा, this is not going to work, or uh, again if this gets implemented what will happen to my job, so they are not ready to accept the implementation, or if you need to try to implement, everyone is rather than finding what good it is doing, where it's failing.
Mm,
So
Absolutely.
all
mm,
the negative aspects finding out, that's where everyone is keen on. So just
mm,
to prove that this is not the right way to implement or right way to go, that they want to do. So there is a lot of resistance from software, or even from the management side also I have seen sometimes there is a resistance. So
okay.
here typically
How
then the, yeah.
No, that how do you deal with that then? How do you make your clients understand that it is possible to overcome these challenges and actually
Uh, that's where then the first line which I said, that was don't go for fully automated system, go for a semi-automated system, or just you do a proof of concept where you can try it on few components. Just
Mm. Mm.
it not be a system as much as such, but we will do a proof of concept. We will implement some things, and
Okay.
then we will convert that proof of concept into a regular full-fledged system.
Mm.
So, and sometimes it happens is there are too many variants of a product. So
Mm.
changeover and each quantity is limited quantity manufacturing, or there are frequent changeover. Client schedule is not very
Mm.
clear. That is, they don't have clarity that means what going to be my production schedule next week. So generally too many changeovers and other things. So these are, to some extent, yes, are the limitations of going for completely automated systems or
Mm.
semi-automated system. Because changeover is a major technical challenge which we are also facing. We are trying to overcome this by multiple ways. That means we have some solutions where we are talking about flexible assembly line, where there will be
Mm.
dedicated PLC analyst workstations, and you have a fixtures based on your different variants. So there will be electrical pneumatic connectors. So you just put the product which you want to run that product fixture on the system variant from the HMI and you start working on that. So in 5 minutes you can just completely change the line and start production. So that kind of
Mm.
systems also we have implemented. But
Okay.
here also again the 80-20 rule comes into picture. That means don't focus to cover each and every part of the product which you are manufacturing for automation. That
Mm.
means if 20% product is giving you a 80% turnover, just focus on those 20% and get
Almost.
that thing done.
Right. Okay. I think picking your battles is key in this case. You don't have
Right,
to
right.
solve all the problems in one go. Pick your problems, prove to yourselves that it's possible to solve them with some of these techniques, and then expand them to other areas of the process. That's going to be important, right?
100%.
Okay.
Okay.
So we move to the next one. I think
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead and Niket, you want to question?
No, no, no. I agreed to you that just keeping an eye on the time. So I
Yeah,
know we are through. So let's
right.
go ahead
But
with
I
the
think,
business. Yeah.
yeah, you mentioned Aniket, sorry, Vinit, in your career, you have, I'm sure, ended up working a lot with your your partners on your vendor side. You are now also working with your friend, collaborating with him on a different business than yours. So we wanted to pick your thoughts on that particular aspect. I know it's not an answer for everything, but this
Mm-hmm.
particular aspect of scaling has been one of the key problem statements that a lot of MSMEs we interact with mention, that after reaching a certain sort of a glass ceiling, they are not able to grow beyond that. And more often than not, it's because of lack of resources that they have internally, uh, in which we find that collaborations to begin with can solve some of those problems and really help them break away from that limitation, that they have sort of hit that ceiling there. So do you
And,
see that as an important aspect in your real life examples? Have
uh,
you seen that happening?
yes, definitely. As you correctly said that after reaching one saturation point, maybe in
Mm.
terms of your production capacity or maybe in terms of the way you are implementing processes, the way you are working, collaboration definitely adds a lot of value and provides a vast business opportunity for any industry, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Just to take example, that is, there are many assembly operations or that is, just let me rephrase again for myself. Actually, when you are at saturation level and you want to increase your business, the first thought which comes into the mind or practical limitations are there that okay, then I will need to expand, I will need to have additional space, I will need to have
Space.
additional
Mm.
workforce. Space, once you talk about space, that becomes a major constraint because
constraint, yeah,
real estate
capital.
prices are skyrocketing. Then you have to go far away from the city. Maybe you have to premises can be at different location, which again adds huge overheads. So
Mm,
there maybe the outsourcing or collaborating with someone who can uh, maybe you can partly offload your work content. Maybe if I am into automation or I am into assembly process, maybe I can help in setting up a simple process where their assembly part can be outsourced or where some manufacturing
mm,
part can be outsourced, which is automated. So they are not compromising any on any quality. They have the traceability, they have all the records of the way it has been worked. So slowly, I would like to move into that region where that
mm,
collaborative workspaces is done.
Yes.
And we
right.
think that as our suppliers side, that means when we are developing a system, we need n number of machine components and other processes.
Mm,
So typically, then we have run to one by one our suppliers. That is okay. This is the urgent part I need. Do you have capacity? Can you do it? What kind of capacity you have? So one part which is missing here is one collaborative platform where everyone can share their capabilities, share their uh, current workload or spare capacities, and which can be used. Though it's a competitiveness, it's again helping each other and moving forward together. So that is definitely is going to. So these are some areas I think we need to work on so that everyone is collaborator and there is
mm.
no fear of competition. That is okay. He is my competitor, but he has spare capacity. Why we can't help each other?
Yeah, that's an I think it and it very interesting take. The first thing that springs up for a company is to look at others as competitors and develop those defense mechanisms. But if you turn it around as a collaborative venture and create that win-win situation, certainly both parties or both companies can benefit from that.
Benefit.
Interesting way to
Yeah.
look at it.
Absolutely.
Yes. I know
And
I'm
then,
keeping one eye on the watch, but I do
no, no,
have
no,
to
very good,
suggest.
relevant point. I think, yeah,
Yeah,
SMEs could actually benefit from this because I think they look at as a capital as a um, like intensive barrier to automate any of their businesses. But then looking at their partnership and how where who they can collaborate is a fantastic opportunity that they can pursue.
right.
Uh, let's look at the key takeaways and let's leave our SMEs as well as MSMEs with some key takeaways what they should uh, you know uh, take away from this podcast. What do you think? You wanna go one by one from this slide and cover this, Vinith?
Yes, that means as I said, that means to have a proof of concept. You start small, prove that okay, these things work, and then you have the multiple implementation of similar thing, or step by step you can go ahead. And for this thing, that means one is you need to have the vision. That is what the end results we want to achieve. So from the top management to the every worker on the shop floor, everyone should have clarity. That means what is going to be their final goal and where they need to reach. So if they have the clarity, then working on these steps. That means even if you are doing the proof of concept, we design it based on the scalability whatever is required. That means when later if you want to integrate robo, you can have the provision. So the changes in the existing system are minimal in the integration of future systems with your seamless integration. So that's the way
Mm,
we can also work together. And again, to do this, not every company or every business need to have those expertise. That means they, even they have the expertise, they have their routine daily work and the responsibilities which they have. They can't find the time for designing these systems and everything uh, from their daily production routine. So there they should collaborate with experts like you, like us, that we can take care of where our expertise is and they are expert in process, they are expert in manufacturing their product, and we are expert in implementing process,
Yeah.
automating their
Mm.
systems, basically. So that's how. And another thing is that one management culture also should be there. That is, they should be ready to accept the failure, and instead of having blame game, just take the whatever has gone wrong as a learning step, and then
Mhm.
move further. That is the
Mm.
where maximum collaboration is required. It should not happen that okay, I have given it to you, now it's your responsibility. If it's failed, you are gone. It should not
Mm.
happen. It has to be a collaborative approach. There as well. Own the responsibility and work together for the final goal.
Correct. Very aptly said. I think risk sharing appetite is what we need because automation, I mean, in the today's world, as robotics is ramping up, there are definitely some known unknowns and unknown unknowns. So, and in
Mm.
order to embrace this future, which definitely does bring out some good opportunities, you have to accept that culture of embrace the culture of risk, like risk sharing, and it's a team's responsibility. It should not be you should not any failure should not be looked at as a looked down upon as a failure. It should be looked as an opportunity. Okay, what we can learn, right? Adopt that growth mindset. I 100% agree with you. uh, Chandru, any final thoughts before we wrap up? I know we are a little bit
Yeah,
close to the top of the hour, but yeah, I want to leave our audience with some final CTA call to action.
yeah, yes, and again, I really didn't realize that we are almost close to the top of the hour. The conversation was actually quite
Very
engrossing and quite engaging. I couldn't keep track of the time. So, and I know even with that, we have only scratched the surface. I know
yeah,
there's a lot, even in this particular topic, that can be discussed. A lot of questions that our listeners are going to have, the MSMEs or SMBs are going to have. So my final word would be that let's engage. Do comment on this, and do go through this and see if these are real issues that you are facing, if these are pertinent for you, relevant for you, and if so, we are here to engage and help you resolve them. You have seen Vineet with this kind of vast experience and the variety of work that he has under his belt. Um, he is quite approachable. I know for a fact that he'll be the first one to get up, put his hand up, and say that if you have a problem, I'll be there to solve it for you. So reach out to us with more ideas, more conversations. Let's have more conversations around these issues. The more we talk about it, we have been saying this for all these 25 episodes. The more we talk about these issues, better solutions are we going to find to resolve them, right? So,
100%.
yeah, reach
And
out to us.
both of us, we have like 35 years diverse experience. So definitely, we can provide some fresh set of eyes on your problems and discuss those solutions and brainstorm about possibilities.
Right,
Uh,
right.
yeah, Vinit sir, do you want to add anything? Had a fantastic time, discussing your experience, real life scenarios. Lot of nuggets you have provided. Any final words to our audience before we wrap up?
No, I think nothing much to add from my side. I think that's the way we need to collaborate. We all need to work together and uh, find some innovative solutions. The way we can work or the way we can. That is, as an industrial engineer, productivity is always one thing. That is how things can be done in a better way. When it's a routine
Mhm.
everyday thing. That's the way we have to think. Let's collaborate. Let's work and let's make everything successful. That's what I can say.
Great. Thank you, Vinit sir. Really had a fantastic time with you. For all our audience, I'm just putting all these slides. We'll be sharing these slides through LinkedIn as well as Shantanu will be sharing this YouTube video on his channel as well. Do follow us, comment, subscribe. as well as share this with someone you need it, who you think you will need it, and also you would like to hear from you. What are the challenges you are facing? Please, because we want to design these episodes to add a value to you. So, with that being said, thank you for joining today. I know it was a little bit longer, but I hope we added a value to you with all these discussions. Uh, and we'll hope to have Vineet sir again. I know we did not
Yes.
discuss. I don't want to throw you under the bus, but if we get good engagement on this episode, we'll definitely request him to come later on as his calendar permits. With
It's
that
my
being said,
pleasure. I'm looking forward for that, and thanks a lot for. And it's an honor to
thank
get
you.
on this podcast, and I really enjoyed. Really like the way we are discussing the problems and the way you are taking forward all those initiatives. I really appreciate that, and thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank you for the encouragement, Vineet.
Thank
All
you.
of that is real.
Thanks a lot. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a
Thanks.
good
Bye,
day, everyone.
everyone. Yeah.
Bye.
See you next week. Thank you. Bye bye.
See you.